Welcome into episode number 6 of the Juke podcast. What's going on? Jen, we are here to discuss many topics across the NFL. The NFL draft is coming up, and we have a very, very special guest, LaVar Arrington. What's going on, man? What's going on, Jen? I'm excited for this podcast. We have so many awesome topics.
Well, Mitch, what you probably don't know is that he was kind of elusive sometimes. He got some picks for that. Quarterbacks, I don't know how they didn't see him because he's big, but he was playing with my emotions there. What you may not know about LaVar is that though both of us can claim being beastly linebackers and some of the best tacklers in the game, you, Mitch, can probably credit the fact that I am on this podcast with you today to LaVar, who, when I first did an interview with LaVar on NFL Network. Do you remember this, LaVar?
Of
Do
course.
you remember what you said to me afterwards?
I mean, you got to do this.
He did, and he was so encouraging. Good. Yeah, he was so encouraging. What was it? I think it was my talk about the linebackers off the edge that really got you.
It's your confidence in your delivery that got me. You do such a great job of presenting your case and putting your information out there, and you got great energy. You know, you got the voice for it, you got the look for it. So I certainly told you after the segment, like, man, I was blown away by how talented you were in front of the camera. A lot of people can't do it when the camera comes on. So, and you were a natural at it. So yeah, absolutely. So, hey, I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to have been a part of it becoming a part of me being a part of it. So it's all good.
Well, I still credit you with that. I never forgot that day. It meant so much to me, you know, as an individual and also somebody who loved watching you play. And you inspired me as a linebacker as well. So to get that too, I was like, it was a big moment to me, and to be able to consider you a friend to this day, it's very special.
Wow, I feel the same, Jen.
Well, there you go. So Mitch, you did not know that. That was the exclusive take. But I did have another, I'm going to tell you, like, I did not realize that not only did I model certain things in my game after yours, LaVar Arrington, but in doing my research today, I discovered that the Water Boy was actually inspired by your tackling style, and that Adam Sandler went to a practice to watch you tackle. How did that feel? Because come on.
Well, I didn't know the movie. I didn't know about the movie coming. I heard about the concept, and that is a true story. It's super cool. And he did come to practice, and he hung out with me, and we talked. He gave me an autograph. He has like the wildest potty mouth. I don't know if it's changed since then, but his potty mouth game is on point. And yeah, it was cool. I didn't know what the Water Boy was going to be at that point in time, obviously. But they said that Adam Sandler was going to be at practice. He was going to be there for a couple of days to study the film, to look at the way, you know, linebackers were playing. And more specifically, they wanted him to meet with me and to talk with me. So I was humbled by it. It was super cool. And it was exciting. And just to know that one of the most legendary football movies and comedy, of course, maybe the best comedy one, maybe The Longest Yard, you could debate it, but one of the coolest movies in history. You know, I helped inspire Bobby Boucher, so it's kind of cool. The football player moves, not the person. I'm not from the bayou. I don't speak that way, and I don't eat alligators or crocodiles and all that stuff. But the football player, the play of the football player is pretty cool.
Jen was actually telling me about a specific style of tackle that you may have had that you showed her. Maybe that was inspiring Bobby as well. What was it called?
What was it called, Jen?
LaVar has a very specific tackling style. Wasn't it the lion tackle?
It's a lion tackle.
That's right.
And he made contact like a lion.
That's right. And he is legendary.
See a lion miss.
That's right.
A
And he's
lot of people,
legendary for it.
a lot of people reach when they tackle. A lot of people drop their heads, close their eyes. But when a lion attacks, a lion gets their body onto the body of their prey, and then they wrap, and then they put their claws in. So yeah, that's a very true story, very true statement. You make contact like a lion. That's the approach. If you make contact like a lion, at least if you get a concussion, it isn't from you using your head, to make the tackle. It might have been you hitting your head off of the ground, or somebody hitting their body part like a knee or something off of your head. But the tackle in general is not a concussed type of tackling technique, because you're using your body to absorb the contact.
Well, you'll have to check out the forum. I posted it a few days ago. LaVar actually taught Tyreek Hill how to tackle. I got him in the 3-step drop drill. So if he makes a play next season, a game safe
Right.
tackle, you'll know where it came from.
Word, love it.
I have always been a fan of how you contacted mine. I obviously learned from rugby too, which is the same kind of thing. Bringing
thing.
it in, though, being smaller, I have to be a little bit more hips wrap and drop, because if I straight line tackle, I might end up on the wrong side of that pile. But he has been a legend in so many ways. And one of the things we always talk about, LaVar, is FBI, right? Football intelligence. And as a linebacker, you are essentially the quarterback of the defense. What you see is determining so much. But I don't think necessarily people always understand what that vantage point is from the defensive side of the ball. And what we like to do is get some actual football kind of insight, or FBI, that people can bring into their own game when they're watching. So is there something particular that you used to, because you did it better than many? I mean, the picks that you obviously had some good insight. Do you have something that you could share to people who are casually watching? They might be able to get into the mind of LaVar Arrington.
I mean, simply put, it's really by game plan and by characteristics of who your opponent is going to be. Some quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks have a difficult time going through read progressions, and so the first thing I start to study with a quarterback is his mannerisms pre-snap. And if the mannerisms of a quarterback are based upon his ability to be able to read pre-snap what a defense is going to do, some quarterbacks more than others will give away if they're trying to read the defense to throw the ball, or if they're trying to read the defense as to where the holes in the defense would be versus a run. Now, most quarterbacks don't have the freedom to do that, but for the most part, especially in the pros, if you're going up against a really formidable quarterback, you have to be aware of trying to find as many characteristics about them as they are trying to find about you and your defense. So I would say the first thing you start off with is, what are the pre-snap characteristics of the quarterback? A quarterback that's maybe looking to pass, maybe looking around, looking to see how deep the linebackers are, how close the safeties are, how close the corners are, what are the spatial differences between, coverage and his receivers. What does the coverage look like? Are we blitzing? Should he hold long enough? Is he holding long enough to see where our true alignment is going to be? So there are a lot of pre-snap deals that go into reading the defense or reading the offense to try to do it what you need to do as a defender. Then my next progression is, I start looking at the triangle. My triangle is the back, the quarterback, the center, through the guards. And I start looking at sits. I see how weak they are. I see if they're sitting in a 3-point stance or in a 2-point stance. 3-point stand, their hand goes down. 2-point stance, they're standing up, right? Did I mix that up? 2-point, they're down. 3-point, they're standing up. I don't know. I mean, I guess 3-point would be 2 feet down and 1 hand down. So there you go. And 2 would be no hand down because, well, it's 2 feet. So anyway, the point is that I'm looking at every little thing. How far is the outside leg back? Are they anchored in to be able to come off the ball and to escape out of their stance? I mean, Jen, there's so many different things that go into the read. And they say this, and it's funny to hear it, but there's so much truth to it. When a guy is heavy on his hand, when they say he's heavy on the hand, it's like, what does heavy on the hand means? Well, you can be so heavy on your hand that the blood stops circulating through the fingers, right? So if you're looking at certain dudes and you see that they're heavy on their hands, like I can tell by if the blood stops circulating, if they have gloves on, you're right, their fingers start bending. So it's like every little thing in those moments of time lead to making decisions that take place in the blink of an eye, so the idea of getting into, people like our minds, you have to do so much preparation and so much studying that by the time you get to the game field, it's just really almost identification that's connected to muscle memory. If I see this, this is what I'm doing. If I think this is what I'm anticipating. And then the anticipation becomes really the reason, that anticipation with the courage, right? If you have courage to believe what it is that you've studied and you see a tendency and you believe it and you take a chance, then that generally leads to the type of plays that people name or they remember, or you end up getting awards and different things like that.
I was watching some of your highlights, which is always tough because highlights, whether or not somebody picks up on what you would personally find as your highlight, often so different, right? Like they may not even know how badly you blew something up, but it appeared to me that with Donovan McNabb particularly, you had his number, right? And almost disguised yourself into some positions. Was there anything specifically on him that you picked out, or was it just familiarity with playing him so often?
I won't say I had his number, but I was always definitely tasked with being the spy. I spied him.
Okay.
And so in the game, games against him for me were fairly simple. It's right. Tackle Deuce Staley and keep up with Donovan McNabb in the passing game. Don't let him escape. He's one of those original dual threat, triple threat type of guys. And if he didn't see anything in the passing game, he could run it. And if he didn't want to pass it at that point in time, he could buy time. And so it was difficult because he's deceptively, at the time, he was deceptively fast. He had a strong arm, so he could throw on the run. So it was really about trying to navigate through Runyon and Trey Johnson or Trey, is it Trey Thomas. Trey Thomas was the other tackle. Runyon and Thomas, Farley was the center. They had a pretty big line, their tackles in particular. And the most difficult thing was getting through traffic while trying to mirror and spy him during the course of the game. But I mean, I did do a pretty good job. But Donovan McNabb, I mean, in my opinion, he was an amazing quarterback, tough to deal with, and probably, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame caliber career.
Agreed. And I know a lot of people struggled with him, but when I was going through yours, it seemed like you definitely had some advantage in that matchup. So, I had to get into it. And I love knowing that you spied him because it seemed like that's what was going on with me. But I was like, I got to ask. You got to get in the tape. So, yeah,
no doubt.
Now, there is another Nittany Lion who seems to be making waves in the linebacker talk as one of the top defensive prospects. How do you feel about Parsons? And have you talked to him? Have you given him some of your tips?
I mentor Micah. In fact, I think he's coming to see me tomorrow before he leaves out of town. I've been around Micah and been in his life since he's been in high school. It was our plan for him to wear 11 and continue the tradition of wearing 11, Stick City, throw up your sticks. But he's the latest iteration of what the number 11 represents in terms of greatness at the college level. Micah Parsons is the best way for me to describe him. Different. He's just different. He's deceptively big. He's deceptively strong. He's deceptively quick. He's deceptively fast. He's just overall, he's deceptive. You would never know, like, if you get up on him and you really, really pay close attention, like to see the size of his legs, to see the size of like the way he's built, it's just, it blows you away. Like it blew me away. And for him to move the way that he moves, like I tell people, and this is no exaggeration, he's like a mix between Von Miller and Ray Lewis. And the reason why I say that is because he's always getting off of the paddle, right? Like he is always a part of the tackle. If people didn't know, Backer U is Penn State. This kid is the first kid ever in the history to lead the team as a true freshman and didn't even led the team in tackles. He just has a Ray Lewis. And his ability now, what people may not know also is he was a defensive end and a running back in high school. So his mobility, because he played tailback, is very, very, very smooth. He's very fluid, and he can pass rush. So you could actually use him as a pass rush guy, but you can also use him as a tackler. So it's funny because the last time I heard of that type of rear blend and talent level was me. And the interesting thing, and in fact, that guy right there, that right there, yeah, he's on the cover of a magazine. It's interesting. It could be dangerous, though. His talent could be a danger because what happened to me could possibly happen to him in the league, which is, where do you play him?
Right.
I would have probably been best suited if as an outside backer, I was not best suited in a 4-3 defense as a Sam linebacker. I was not an over the tight end linebacker, but that's where they put me. And I couldn't, maybe it was because they felt like I'm close to the ball. So the moment you get an opportunity to pass rush, he's on the ball and he can pass rush. So, but that's going to be the key, is where is he going to play? Are they going to play him as a true middle backer? And if they do, which to me, I think if I'm a coach and I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm coaching Micah Parsons, I'm playing him as a true middle backer, because I want him to be able to go sideline to sideline to make tackles. And if we get into a passing down situation, then I'm going to bring in a nickel backer and I'm going to make him a defensive end or a rush backer in that set. So I would make it by sets with a guy with Micah Parsons' skill set. So, but he's different, Jen. Like that's like the best way to explain him is he is as good as publicized and maybe better. And he's different. His mind, his football mind is very, very complex. It's dialed in. It's his ability to diagnose and really comprehend is really high. And he's ultra competitive. He don't like losing Connect Four. He don't like losing checkers. I've recently taught him how to play chess. He doesn't like losing chess. He's a big bowler. So, I look for Micah Parsons. He is definitely a star in the making. Micah Parsons is a god dang.
Thought that was legit.
So,
all right.
So in the end, I just think that Micah Parsons will be a star of the future going into the National Football League, and I'm pretty excited. And don't forget about Jason Oweh as well. Jason Oweh is a 245, 50-pound defensive end, 6'5", ran a 4.36, electric. 4.3. It's electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie. Yeah, that dude. Special dudes. And that's another dude that I mentor and have a great relationship with. And, you know, can't say enough great things about Jason Oweh as well. So 2 guys to really look for on the high end of the prospects list. But yeah, Michael Parsons, different dude.
Where could you see Oweh going?
Ooh, the Giants, maybe. You know, that would be a great landing spot for him. And his old defensive line coach was hired as the D-line coach when Judge came in. Sean Spencer is the D-line coach for the New York Giants. I think that would be a great landing spot for him. Great market, good-looking dude, speaks well, very, very intelligent guy. So I would love to see him end up in a Giants uniform. But there's a numerous amount of teams that he would fit with. But I definitely could see him being on a team and being like an O.C. Umenyiora was to the Giants when he was playing there. That type of skill set.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of fit, I think a lot of people talk about quarterback fit and offensive fit, but not a lot of people talk about linebacker fit and the skills it takes to fit in certain defenses. You know, when you compare maybe a Seahawks defense to a Patriots defense and the different type of molds of linebackers, maybe just dive a little bit into the different linebacker types and what it takes to play in these different defenses.
Well, I mean, that's a lot to unload because the middle linebacker position is a very different position from the outside linebacker position. The outside linebacker position for a 3-4 defense and a 4-3 defense is a very different responsibility and skill set. So that's a lot. But I will say there are some guys that can do it all. They don't have to be covered up, meaning that you don't have to have a Haloti Nada or a Keith Trailer. You know, you don't have to have those big 3, a Tad Washington. You don't have to have those big, ginormous horses in front of you to keep linemen off of you. You actually can still make plays, and that's not a shot towards anybody. I'm just saying that is you have different linebackers that can play off of blocks better than others. And some guys are better runners to the ball than they are being able to play off of blocks, like free flow linebackers that flow really fast. Another Stick City alum and protege was Navarro Bowman. Navarro Bowman was the type of guy he could take on shock linemen, get off the block, and be fast enough to go make the play. Also was good in coverage. So you had guys like that, and then you'll have somebody that's more like a Carlos Dansby, another Stick City descendant, right? Who, long enough, like 6'4", long enough to play on the edge as a outside backer, but crafty enough and fast enough to play on the inside. Now, probably would be needing to be covered up a little bit more. Not very big in terms of size, but very adequate and efficient in the way that his movements are. Very well learned on where to be, the angles of the field. So you'd see him making interceptions and different things like that. And then there's guys that are just former defensive ends that are pass rushing stand-up defensive ends that they call linebackers. And there's just so many. So that's a long answer, but just know that there are so many different skill sets that go into being a successful linebacker as it applies to middle and outside, whether it applies to a 4-3 linebacker in the middle or a 4-3 linebacker to the outside, because a 4-3 linebacker to the weak side in a defense, they're off the ball and they're almost like a second inside backer as what it would apply to a 3-4 defense. So it's a lot of, that's a lot of verbiage. I don't even want to go into all of the details of that, but yeah, I mean, it does take, if you get somebody who can do all of those things, that's a pretty special dude. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but
I
I don't.
can. Yeah.
It seems as though they are targeting me, and as big as my lawn is, they want to stay right in front of where I'm sitting in the room that I'm in. So
Of course they
there
do.
you go.
It's a test. I think what you really tapped into well with the linebackers is, for those who don't appreciate defenses or the differences in them, it becomes a little bit of a catch-all phrase, meaning we have to have the back of the line and we have to do a lot of things, right? We are a little bit of the secondary. We are, a hybrid of the D line, and we have to be all things to all people. And where you see guys miss a lot of the times is when the understanding of the differences in linebackers and the scheme doesn't line up with, what the guy's skill set is.
And then you think that you can force it, Jen.
Yeah.
And that's the issue I take a lot of times, is forcing guys into scenarios where they're not going to be in position to thrive the way that they should. Like I said, I mean, I was put as a strong side linebacker, and I ended up learning how to play it well enough to make a few Pro Bowls. But man, that was wear and tear, and that was quite a bit. I mean, I ended up being a defensive end at times on third down passing situations as well. So I ended up putting my hand in the dirt, and I was 6'3", 245, 250. But I was a linebacker. I was built like a linebacker, so I looked like a linebacker getting in a defensive end stand, not a defensive end that looked like a linebacker, and played linebacker. So, that's up to the coaching staff to deem it the right, frame it the right way. But you're right. I mean, it can be the death of a career, and that's why I'm saying I hope it works out for Micah, because he's one of those tweener players, and one position may yield him better results than another. He may still have success, right? I still had success, but my trajectory of success would have been different if I had been used differently, schematically speaking.
Yep. And you got to have somebody on the coaching staff who can stand on the table for it. Right.
Yeah.
He had that on the Atlanta Legends. Keyshawn Freeman, they had him as an outside backer to start, but we were running a 4-3. He was more of an edge rusher 4-3 guy. And I literally had to say, like, he made the most tackles. This is a ball player. He's not a coverage guy though. Like not that he couldn't be, but we didn't have the ramp up time to teach it. Right. We had 2 weeks. You can't flip a guy in 2 weeks and make him something.
Coverage for a guy who's an edge rusher historically is very, very foreign. And it's that's a tall task.
Right.
That is
unless you're just sinking the end to mess with the quarterback. Like we do that, and it's kind of fun and novel at times, but to completely transform somebody. And I think we see that a lot of the times on the defensive side of the ball, where the defensive schemes don't match up with the skill set. And then they think it's a miss on, he wasn't the best linebacker or the best defense. Like, not as much with the defensive end, but he wasn't as much the best linebacker. And it's really just a mismatch based on the scheme.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From your perspective, LaVar, I know we as defenders, we look at quarterbacks differently. And, we hear at the top end of this draft, there are going to be, a number of quarterbacks taken, right? You see it in the top 5, top 10. Do you have any insight from watching it from your perspective that might be a different take on some of these top quarterbacks?
Man,
I know.
Because I've been ringing the bell on Justin Fields for a minute. I just don't understand why Justin Fields continues to be. I do understand why, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he's a triple threat quarterback. And we still have yet to see a true triple threat quarterback win the Super Bowl. And everybody's like, if they see it, it's going to be like, no, Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes ain't no triple threat quarterback. Like, yes, he can run and he runs efficiently. He's like the equivalent of John Elway as a threat, right? Like John Elway could run and he could run well, but John Elway would never compare to a Mike Vick or a Lamar Jackson, like, and neither would Pat Mahomes, not in the running category. So when I look at a guy like Justin Fields just ran a 4.43, I believe, like smoking.
Fast.
He's fast. The dude is fast. And so and he shows that running ability. He showed it a lot while he was at Ohio State. And I just think that people have trepidation towards quarterbacks that have the ability to run, because I think they don't trust the fact that they will always trust their ability to throw the ball as a throwing quarterback. And that is hurting his in a way his draft status, I guess. When I look at these other guys, I think the guy out of North Dakota, South Dakota, one of the Dakotas, what's his name? Trey Lance. Yeah. I think he's a heck of a player, got great arm talent.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we really know about him? Like, we're high on him, but it's like, all right, you had a great pro day, wonderful. Like, I don't get blown away by pro days other than your physical attributes. I want to know your 40. I want to know your vert. Like, I want to know stuff like that. You do some crazy stuff like that. That's what I'm paying attention to. Your film is your film. You're not going to convince me throwing the ball on air that you're the dopest dude. Like, I don't buy it, So God bless him. Good luck to him. But I don't buy that. I'm not putting him ahead of Justin Fields. And then you got we got BYU. What's his name?
Zach Wilson.
What is it?
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, there we go. Zach Wilson. Like, what do we know about Zach Wilson? Same exact thing, I would say. Better talent that they're playing against, BYU, that is. And I look at Zach Wilson and it's like, you're still investing in the unknown. And that's how you have to look at it, is that he's going to be an unknown. Now, the interesting one is Mac Jones. Mac Jones. All right. He's an interesting one because I think he's what traditional football represents. He's
right.
Like what it should be. He came in, he paid his dues. He was on the team with with two national championship quarterbacks in Hurts and in Tua, and finally got his opportunity, and he did the same exact thing. He made it count. So to me, I would say he's the best prepared out of all of them, maybe even Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence has never known what it has felt like to be in that position. And he's had so much success from day one that you look at Trevor Lawrence, and when we saw him get into a little bit of adversity, it didn't end well. If you think back to that Ohio State game, he was faced with adversity, and he didn't pull him through. In fact, it got uglier by the quarter. So anyway, but we don't say that. We will only whisper that because
hey,
you're not supposed to go after Trevor Lawrence. It's you're supposed to keep it on what really matters, which is everybody else in the draft. So, but I think this is going to turn into a quarterback draft. I would be surprised if we don't see 3 or 4 quarterbacks come off of the board immediately. It's just a matter of where they going to go. And I feel like the Jets at 2, it's like, yeah, you got Salah that's there now. So you would assume that they're going to try to adopt the same type of offensive philosophy that the number 3 pick in the 49ers are going to have. So that would be interesting to see if they take Justin Fields or Trey Lance. because of those attributes that they're looking for in that style of RPO stretch zone type of offense that they run. And then at number 3, like who? So if one goes and the other doesn't, is the Alabama kid going to be one of the guys in the mix? Does that fall off? And then once you get out of those first 3 picks, where are we going? Where are we going? And so to me, I think that the quarterback conversation is one that it's turned into intense entertainment in a lot of ways. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because these quarterbacks have been built up to be highly touted, but I only see maybe 1 or 2 that really come out of the wash and turn into like really, really dope NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point of Trevor Lawrence that we don't hear a lot. I mean, the championship was bad. It was bad. And
yeah, it was bad.
And it wasn't that everyone around him was bad and he was good. He was not good.
Yeah, the playoffs.
Yeah.
The playoffs. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ohio State, not only did Ohio State dominate him, but Justin Fields dominated Clemson.
Yep.
And last I checked, I know Trevor and Justin aren't lining up against one another head to head, but in order to say you're the best, they say the saying goes, you gotta beat the best. And he outperformed, in my opinion, he outclassed and outperformed Trevor Lawrence in a game where they went head to head as quarterbacks. So let the film tell it.
You could also say the same thing about Mac Jones versus Justin Fields, though.
Well, that's fair, but that's Alabama. There's always a qualifier when it's Alabama, and that's the thing about it. Now, I would ask you, and that comparison, because it was certainly the dominance and the size and the strength that you saw from Alabama's fronts, the defense and the offensive front. I would ask you, how many quarterbacks have you seen really play well from Alabama?
From Alabama? Yeah, not many.
I'm gonna wait on you.
Yeah, not many. I don't think they have a very good track record at Alabama.
Name me a recent Pro Bowler from a recent possible MVP candidate in the NFL from Alabama.
I can flip it on you though. What about Ohio State?
Fair enough. And I think that's what's playing against Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think for both of them, to be honest.
Troy, So I think it's against both of them.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with the draft. I don't know if you agree with me, but you got to evaluate the individual prospect as opposed to the helmet.
I agree, but we don't always do that.
Yeah,
we don't. No, we don't.
I think you made some great points there. Those were touche points. Very good, sir. You got a future in this business.
Thank you. All right. Well, we do want to move on to some NFL related things in terms of some recent news. One of my favorite players is Julian Edelman. He just recently retired.
No, he's not. No.
He's not retired. Okay, let's get the take.
No, he's retired. But no to your next question.
Oh, you wanted me to ask if he's a Hall of Famer?
No, I didn't want you to ask me if he. That's the question that keeps following or preceding when we say Julian Edelman, and the answer is no. But yes, he is retired. I heard the announcement. I'm aware of it, but no, he's not a Hall of Famer. No.
I was just gonna get your thoughts on maybe him as a player and
great career. Great career, great in the playoffs, clutch dude. Love to have him as a teammate. Who wouldn't want to have Julian Edelman as a teammate? And I mean, he's revered, he's respected, he's admired. That's a legacy that you want to leave behind. He'll probably be a part of their all-decade, all-time team in New England. I think he had a brilliant career.
Jen, any thoughts on Edelman?
No, I mean, it's about the same, right? I mean, when you look at the numbers relative to the Hall of Fame, that would be a premature conversation. The numbers relative to some guys like Calvin Johnson and stuff, who, the up as first ballot. Like they don't come close. But do you want them on your team? Absolutely, you do.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking about this earlier. It's like a great player retires and automatically we say, will they be crowned Hall of Fame, right? Will they be jacketed? Like that's the only way that you had a great career or that you were a great contributor. And that's not the case. It's not like either you're Hall of Fame or, you never really made a name for yourself. There's a big difference generally when you think, look, Drew Pearson just made it into the Hall of Fame.
Just got in.
Right. And I've known number 88 for years. 88 used to come and watch me play, and it used to drive me nuts that he was not in the Hall of Fame. But we want to talk about Julian Edelman, Hall of Fame, the day he steps off the field. And it took that long to get a legacy like Drew Pearson and what he did in football into the Hall of Fame. And I think we just have to be really respectful of what those differences are in terms of career impact and lineage in the game, right? I'd like to see Sterling Sharp in the Hall of Fame before I'd like to see Julian Edelman.
I think Sterling Sharp has 5 Pro Bowls. You look at Wes Welker, and he's like a fringe guy for the Hall of Fame, and he's got Pro Bowls. He's got first team, second team, all pros. Julian Edelman has none. None.
Right. You know what made me angry? What made me angry as a fan, and probably I don't know Edelman, what he was thinking after he retires, but I've never seen anything like it where a guy retires and then instantly everybody is on him because he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. It's like, can this guy just enjoy retirement for an hour before we start going off on Twitter?
Hey man, that's the world he's in. That's the beast. That's the belly of the beast, brother. You're in media.
I get it.
Look at it this way. You shouldn't be driven crazy by it. You should look at it as it's an ultimate honor that would actually even be a debate. Even if the debate isn't in his favor, the fact that it's still a debate to begin with at all is quite a testament to the type of career that he had.
There's another element in New England that has been a big part of Tom Brady's success within that Patriots offense, and now they're bringing that element to Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay just recently signed Giovanni Bernard, who is primarily known as a pass-catching running back. Yep. Tampa Bay had the most drops at the running back position last year, and despite that, they won the Super Bowl. Do you have any comments on maybe what Bernard could bring to the Bucs offense?
No. Well, at this point in his career, what's he going to do?
I
think he should bring a fanny pack of water to the huddle so that he can give the guys water like the water boy and make sure that everybody is hydrated before he goes and blocks if he's in the game. What year is this for him?
He's 29 now.
What year is
I
this?
have no idea. I want to say 7, 8.
Yeah, I don't see him being a difference maker. Sorry, Gio. I don't see you being a difference maker. I don't really look at him as, but you're right about the concept.
Right.
You're wrong about the idea of it being what it is it made for. Tom Brady is the success. Period. What you put with that is what you put with it. But Tom Brady is the success. So whether you get a pass catching running back or you have running backs dropping the ball, whatever it is, Tom Brady is the success. And that's where the Bucs begins and where it ends. And I think we found that out this past year.
Well, when you say that recently, I know you commented saying that Belichick was kind of in the warm seat, right? Not the hot seat, but the warm seat. So how do you see that in terms of the legacy? Because if it is Tom Brady's success, are we saying it is not Belichick's success? Or is it a combination?
Tom Brady has already added not one season removed from New England, added another Lombardi trophy to his resume.
Yep.
You don't think that puts Bill Belichick on notice?
Oh, without a doubt, I think it puts Belichick on notice, but I don't think you have the Tom Brady that went into Tampa Bay with a very stacked roster, without how they work together through the years, right? Like, because he becomes better with that kind of knowledge. You even saw tweaks put on the offense. That's not something that Tom Brady knew independently of Bill Belichick in terms of adding different motions to get better reads on the defense. And he did some things in the Bruce Arians offense that were, obviously keys for success in the Patriots offense. And having known Bruce and knowing what they went into in Tampa Bay, I don't think it doesn't say anything about Tom Brady. Obviously, he is what he is, right? He is one of the greatest of all times, and he attracts talent around him. People want to play with him, and they step up because of his competitive nature and the kind of teammate he is. I just don't think that we can say that he doesn't become the guy that he is without what was built around him.
That's a cool qualifier, but it's still Tom Brady.
But Tom Brady had to get to be Tom Brady.
But Tom Brady has to be Tom Brady. Like that. Like I asked somebody the question the other day: if Aaron Rodgers went to New England, would New England have had the same record or did better with Aaron Rodgers? Because I think Aaron Rodgers, as a quarterback, like gifts wise, talent wise, is a better quarterback than what Tom Brady is. My answer is hell no. You don't get the same results. And I don't know what the results would be. I know this. I've never seen anything like Tom Brady. I've never seen anything like, in terms of the accomplishments, I've never seen it. And for the longest time, you sit there and you marry it to Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter that he went to a loaded team, a stacked team. Doesn't matter. The same thing that Tampa Bay did in Tampa, my rookie year, Dan Snyder did with the Washington football team. He brought in the best of the best from, you name it, from Deion Sanders to Bruce Smith to Mark Carrier
to LaVar Arrington.
In the draft, and Chris Samuels in the draft, 2 and 3 overall in the draft. This team was loaded. Brad Johnson was the quarterback. Jeff George was the backup quarterback. Stephen Davis was the starting running back. Skip Hicks, Adrian Morrell, Larry Sinners were in the backfield. This team was loaded. All right. We didn't even make the playoffs. We didn't even make the playoffs. So to me, we could throw talent out the window when you're talking about the realities of what you have to be able to do to execute at a level where you can actually go to the pinnacle of the sport in 1 year without an off season, in a pandemic. Nah, it's Tom. Believe you me, it's Tom. Development, yes, you don't get Tom without Belichick's development, 1,000%. But it's always, forever and a day, going to be players over plays. And I'm going to tell you right now, whatever that internal, whatever Tom has, we won't see it again in our lifetime. Not that I could comprehend. I don't, like, Joe Montana, in my mind, was far and away the greatest quarterback outside of Jerry Rice, maybe greatest football player. Arguably, in my opinion, I think Jerry Rice was the greatest, but Tom Brady's not the greatest athlete you'll ever see. Tom Brady is not going to check off the boxes on anything in terms of greatest in strength, size, speed, quickness, agility, vertical, none of that. he's just the greatest where it matters. He's like the greatest. So that's all. I mean, I can't explain it, but I think that's why Bill Belichick is on the warm seat. It's warm not for him to lose his job. It's warm to prove that the Patriot way isn't the Tom Brady way that just went and up and ended up landing in Tampa Bay and bringing a Lombardi trophy there. That's
Jen,
all.
this is a guy that was drafted the same year as Tom Brady.
This is a guy that Tom Brady was drafted the same year as.
And
year of.
by the way,
at that point, I was greater than Tom Brady.
So
and was drafted much earlier.
Much, yeah. I think
You put a few more
197 picks earlier, actually. So I think that's just kind of where I was leading. Like, from your perspective, being somebody a part of that draft class in 2000, like, what has it been like to see the story of Tom Brady grow, like, as a member of that draft class?
I had to deal with him doing comebacks against me in college.
Right, yeah.
So our year that I felt like, we were destined to win the national title, he came back, he brought them back and beat us in Happy Valley. With two strikes, same play with Marcus McKnight, I believe his name was, deep middle zone, like deep middle cross. Anyway, it still bothers me to this day.
Plays like that too. I'm not gonna lie. I just talked to you on that.
But I'll tell you what, Tom Brady has been a winner from day one. And again, for as many winners as I've been around in my day and my time, I'm proud that we were in the same draft class. I'm proud to say that there were a lot of great players in my draft class. Urlacher was in our draft class. Thomas Jones, Jamal Lewis, Plexico Burris. I mean, there were a lot of really, really Keith Bullock. There are a lot of talented guys that were in our draft. Julian Peterson. So I don't look at it as being surprised so much that we had success. Sebastian Janikowski was in our draft class. I mean, it's, I just look at Tom and I'm like, for the one dude that you would choose as the chosen one, I don't know that would have been the dude you chose. And to me, that's what makes America America. I love being an American. I love being an all-American. And that's what America is all about, right? Like, you carve out your own space. And no one had that type of trajectory for Tom Brady. And yet, look at where he is and still doing it. So good for him. God bless. I wish him nothing but the best, continued success. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan first of the game. I'm a fan of players, and I'm a big Tom Brady fan.
Mic drop.
I do want to ask you about a former first overall pick who just was signed earlier today. That's Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney's found a new home with the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Maybe, what do you think of that fit and the impact he may have on that team?
It's hard to say. It's just hard to say. And it's hard to say because I don't know how healthy Jadeveon will stay. If he stays healthy and is motivated, which you'd have to assume he's motivated, if he's still able to impact games, it should be good. Everybody's putting it together that him and Myles Garrett are going to be the difference. But, I mean, him and J.J. Watt wasn't enough. If him in his prime wasn't good enough with J.J. Watt, I don't see it being good enough with Myles Garrett. I mean, is that fair? I mean, they may be better on offense than what they were in Houston, but I mean, they had a pretty doggone good offense in Houston while Jadeveon Clowney was there. So, I'm not going to put too much into that one, to be honest. That's a more of a wait and see type of deal, if you ask me.
Yeah, his health is a big question mark. I mean, as defenders, we always, I mean, I know, I love the edge. I love the dogs. I see everything going through the D line, right? Like as linebackers shoot, they're doing their thing. It makes our thing much easier. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Destroying offenses. But I've got to say, in terms of guys that I thought could be a lot more impactful throughout their career, he's one of them to me. I do know that the culture in Houston at that time, they did have a lot of injuries, and it was a grind you through it kind of philosophy. Like, we're not doing it well enough, we just need to go harder, which obviously doesn't work well for him with his kind of injuries. But I don't have a lot of faith that he is healthy enough to be as impactful as we would like him to be. Right. I think everybody sees it and they're like, number one pick, Davey Clowney, yeah, he's gonna do this. And then it's like Turkdo or whatever, something. It's always something.
Hang nail.
Right. Like I chip my nail polish. I can't play today. My nails look good. Like I gotta let them dry.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my big concern with him. So it really also makes me wonder about like the this and the this. Right. Like, and is he doing the work outside of to be ready to step in and be devastating? Or is he just like, oh, I just got another check?
We're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's gotta be a make or break.
I wouldn't put my money on it though.
And I only think that he necessarily gets it this year because they're not talking a lot of pass rushers in this draft. Right. So we haven't heard a lot about devastating pass rushers that you could pit in. So if you feel like that's a spot where you needed to get better, that might
possibly have been like, if you put your possibly
right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like you were like, oh, I can just take this guy in the draft and that's a done deal, right? I don't see a lot of, but he wouldn't be the way I would necessarily.
I think you're on the right wavelength on this one.
All right, I'll ask you this question. If this is the final question, I'll ask you this question.
All
right. Who was the toughest open field tackle that you ever faced?
The toughest open field tackle was T.O.
Ooh.
I dang near broke my shoulder hitting him.
I might have to look that up.
The toughest dude to tackle and play against, period, was Fred Taylor. Which, once again, if we're talking about guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame, that should be in the Hall of Fame, sheesh, how is Fred Taylor not in the Hall of Fame yet? Blows me away. And I've gone against them all. Emmitt Smith, Jerome Bettis, Deuce Staley, Deuce McAllister, Tiki Barber. Who else? Who else do we want to throw out there? Brandon Jacobs, Lorenzo Neal, Sam Gash. I've gone against them all. Fred Taylor is by far the most gifted, talented running back, the most complete running back that I've ever gone against, ever.
That's
toughest, most difficult.
He might need to put that, like, if I were him, I would probably put that on a t-shirt or a poster that LaVar Arrington said this. I'm sure he's heard it before, but if that was me, that would be one of them that I hung up on my wall of, yeah, I did that, because LaVar, from somebody who really always loved watching you play, like from linebacker, defensive person, one to another, like I would watch it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I got to get that side to side, that hustle, that no play was ever over. Like I never felt like you were out of a play, right? And some of the biggest plays you made, I know weren't even your primary responsibility or your secondary responsibility.
Right.
They were all your responsibility because you're a lion on the field and that's what you do. I would definitely put that on a poster, but I utmost respect, top to bottom.
For certain.
Love you on the field and off, and I'm so thankful
Indeed.
not only call you football family, but most importantly, a friend.
Indeed. I echo that. You're super dope. Again, that's your Jen, your Dr. Jen. So
Hey,
the good doctor.
well, I adore you. Get out of here. Thank you for hanging out with us for so long. It was
No
so
worries.
good. The time went so fast.
It's all good. It's all good.
Appreciate the time.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Hit me up when you get in town. All right.
I will. Can't wait to
All
see
right,
you.
guys. All right. Hey,
Peace.
good luck to you, Mitchell. You're pretty good at this.
Thank you,
Yeah,
man. Appreciate that.
All right, guys.
The great LaVar Arrington, awesome conversation from the linebackers perspective, which I was waiting for, Jen. You're a linebacker. I was waiting for this counter perspective, and I think we got it. He was so just himself and genuine answers and personality, and it was awesome to talk to him.
There really aren't many better than LaVar. And, having watched him and been inspired by his fearless pursuit out on the field, right? Like there were plays that he made that I will watch and I'm like, I'm going to do that, right? Like never stop, like this devastating tackler who also, really messed with quarterbacks and often picked them off. And then to know that he was the tackling fuel for the water boy, which I used to jokingly say that, like, they totally took that from my game. So to know that, even Adam Sandler recognized that game in the way back, and now he's doing another football movie. So it really came full circle with Adam Sandler, LaVar Arrington, and football royalty and humor today for me. I don't know about you, Mitch.
Man, I loved it. I just loved how he has a different perspective. I think so often we hear from players about certain topics and it's very, no way to say it, but political a lot of times. They don't want to say the wrong thing. And I really felt like he was giving truthful answers, even if it was just like, no, that guy's not going to do anything, or like, this is the way it was. And I loved his passion, obviously being a huge Tom Brady guy. I thought that was awesome to talk about Tom Brady. Just loved the conversation.
Yeah, it really doesn't get any better. And, it is refreshing, right? Like this is why we talk about how important it is to have people who have played the game look at it differently and think about it differently. And I do remember that first moment with him, like we were on NFL Network, right? And all the talking heads are going around and we finished and he was like, do TV. He was like, listening to you talk about the linebackers, everything. He was like, I've never like had somebody who played it, who was a female who like did that. He was like, you have to honor this game and talk about it. And I just remember being like, LaVar Arrington, like linebacker royalty, agreed with me, right? Like, and not in a way that was, just the traditional talk. And it really struck me that day, and it's something I've kept with me. And we started being friends that day and have kept in touch ever since. So,
yeah, nothing else to say other than it's been another awesome episode of the Juke, and make sure you do follow us on all social media platforms, whether that is Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Let us know in the comments too on YouTube. Let us know what you felt about this conversation. What's the biggest thing that really stood out to you? What was your favorite topic? What was your favorite thing that happened in the episode? And we'll be sure to have more awesome guests in the future, just like LaVar. So, Jen, another awesome episode.
I mean, and take that one to the bank, Mitch. He's now said both you and I should be doing this. So,
right.
I mean, again, like maybe we just put that on a poster.
Yeah, I'll have the magazine up like he did.
Right, no doubt. Like, hey, you said you had great counterpoints, and of course, I agree. So it's great to see.
All right, that's been another episode of The Juke. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.